Oh, hello and welcome to our Tuesday, May 18th virtual studio visit with Adriana Prat. I'm Erin Becker, Executive Director of the Cambridge Art Association, and this event kicks off our week of celebrations around CAA Day. CAA Day is the replacement for our typical spring fundraiser. And instead of hosting one paid event, we're hosting a series of free events throughout the week, highlighting the different aspects of our community of artists and art supporters. And at the end of the session, we'll share our whole schedule for the week. But for now, we're going to join Adriana Prat in her studio in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So welcome, Adriana.
Thank you. So I hope, can you hear me? Just want to make sure that everything is fine before I go. So thank you so much, Erin, for the lovely introduction. Thank you, Candice, and I don't know if Rebecca is there. Thank you, Cambridge Art Association, for allowing me to kick off your fantastic week of events. I am super honored to be here to show you my studio. I welcome all of you to my home base studio here in Cambridge. And I will talk a bit about me in the beginning, while you see in the back all my recent paintings crammed on the wall, before I give you a tour of what you actually want to see, which is my studio. So I'm originally from Argentina, and when I was a child in Argentina, I fantasized about being a comic strip artist, and I did all sorts of things artistic. But very quickly, my family, and very efficiently my mother especially, discouraged me from pursuing any artistic career. So I followed another path and I became a scientist. So I got a master in science, biological chemistry from the University of Buenos Aires. And after I moved here, which was going to be temporary, but it has happened like 3 decades ago, I continue working in a scientific environment at National Hospital with a Harvard appointment. I was able to complete my PhD work, and I got a PhD in biophysics from the University of Buenos Aires while working here. But because I had a more introspective lifestyle, I definitely reconnected with my love for art. I mean, the other things happened along the way, including I was diagnosed with MS, and that's something that, it was the object of a bit of revisionism of my priorities. But so I became an artist. I studied basic drawing and painting skills, especially in the Cambridge Center for Adult Education at the Art Studio School there. Phil Press and Barbara Bound are faculty, amazing professors or teachers that really helped me a lot to build my professional career as an artist. But anyway, I had very limited time. I was a part-time, a very efficient artist who continued doing academic scientific work and later on biotech, until 2 years ago I was able to quit my biotech and become a full-time artist. That was pretty much when I joined also the Cambridge Art Association, that helped me firm my professional artistic career. So I'm very grateful for that too. Thank you, CAA. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. If you have questions later on, you can ask me, but I'm going to give you a tour with my cell phone about, so to show you my studio. So now I'm going to stop the video here, and I'm going to start this. So can you see me?
We can't see you. I just see your name. There you are.
Oh, there we are. Okay. All right. So I wanted to do kind of this so I don't see you. But anyway, this is my studio, my home base studio in Cambridge. So I'll give you a bit of a tour. I have what I call a share studio because I share it with that person there, that people, that fairy audio. She's not responding, but that's my cat. So I share this with my cat. Anyway, this is my table, my working table, very small. My office table, my office space. I have everything organized in different boxes, in different places. Have to go slowly so I don't see you guys. I have my books. I have the birds, a lot of light, and the places where I hang my paintings. So it's pretty much everywhere. So I typically paint while ruminating on an emotion, and in general, typically has been personal dilemmas that have triggered my interest to paint. For example, this one is Untitled Dilemma. So other topics or subjects, I want to get close to you so you can see. I speak in a minute about my text. So I typically have done work that have to do with loss, identity, disease. But more recently, in the past 3 or 4 years, I've been, and definitely in the past 2 years, I've been more interested in doing work that has to do with global crisis, and definitely climate crisis and the pandemic have been the subject of my paintings or inspiration. This one, for example, is called The Water is Rising. So I'm going to get close to show you some of the detail. And as I said, the pandemic has also been a cause of inspiration, subject of inspiration. I'm going to show this so to speak a bit about the text. Text has a role typically in my painting, even if you cannot read it afterwards. I usually either start with some writing, or I write with the back of my brush if I'm using a brush, things of the sort. So the writing that you can see sometimes in my painting is text like comes from journal entries or poems or words that come as a result of the topic that I'm inspired by. And I tend to cover it, but what I like about the text is the texture foundation that it creates on my paintings, even if later on is illegible. So this painting, which is also featured in my profile, is called Invisible Spreading. This was done at the height of the pandemic last year, in the summer. And this painting, I wanted to show it to you and getting closer to tell you that, and I'm sorry, the light is giving those shadows, but I wanted to tell you, I mean, I'm mainly, what I love the most about is to paint with oil, but oil-based media, oil and oil sticks. And this painting was done with that, with those materials. This one that is called Spreading, that Erin showed in the beginning. These were made with oil, and I love oil. That's my medium of choice. But being in a home-based situation, I have to settle. I have to be more creative, of course. And I work with acrylic. So I work with a lot of layers, no matter what the medium is. I typically work in layers. This is called, some call it evolution. And I hope you can see with acrylic to create more and more varied mark making. I use acrylic pen and ink pen. that you can see. So I mentioned that I'm very concerned about the climate crisis. So one thing that happened after I quit my job was that I wanted to paint, and it was really my chance to paint big and do, dedicate all my time to it. But I also started feeling very concerned about the climate crisis, about the consumerism element. And I refused to buy big canvases. I refused to go to the art store and get fresh canvases. So one thing that I do a lot is scout thrift stores to get canvases. And for example, these two canvases, one was found on the street and one was thrifted. But I also started painting on cardboard, corrugated cardboard, which I know is not a new thing, but it was new for me. So this painting, for example, that is called Impossible Metabolism, it's was done on cardboard. It's a bit tricky because sometimes they warp, but it's beautiful. I really enjoy it. It's great for storage too. And I love really the to be able to still see where this support is coming from. One thing, so I'm showing you this, and I'm going to show you this too. This is called Change is on its Way. So this painting reminds me that I wanted to mention that one of the things that I have done now for also 2 or 3 years is create these biomorphic shapes, if you will, that in my mind, they are like maps or islands or cells of organism. And I believe many times in the past, I used to say that, oh no, I don't, I was a scientist and I'm not doing science anymore. But definitely these paintings make me realize that there is still a scientific proclivity in my art. And I cannot deny it. And probably it's even more, let me show you without, is more evident in paintings like these, which really look more, I'm sorry about the glare, look more like cells. But anyway, these cells are, or these maps or islands are symbolic also of the continents or the islands that have to change or alter their shape because of the water rising due to climate, the human-made climate crisis. So anyway, that's an illustration of the typical work or what is in my mind, I guess, when I'm doing my work. So I have more cardboards there, but let me quickly go to show you a few more things that I've done. So relating to the usage of cardboard, I have also used these panels, packaging panels, which are fun because they also have some musicality, if you will. I like the sound, and I like the versatility, I guess. This painting or a sculpture or whatever you decide to call it was done because I got inspired by Liz Owald marking lives for COVID-19 call that many of you are aware of. So I'm sorry, I did 1,000 marks and I believe 2,000 words or vice versa. Now I don't remember, but there are these are commemorative or an homage to the lives we have lost and we continue to lose due to COVID. So one thing that I didn't mention, and I'll go back in a second to another wall, is that I'm not only working in oil or acrylic, but I also like to work with collage and other things. And one thing that is really where I see myself going into is doing more work that gets into the sculpture, if you will, world, the 3D. So this is called homage. And as you can see, it's a canvas, but I use the mesh that flowers are wrapped into. And I cover it with fabric that I dyed or colored with acrylic. And I use zippers, which is something that I love to use. I love to use zippers. And this is because my mother used to design wedding and gown dresses and party gowns. And I inherited a lot of these and a lot of knuckle belts and things that are very fashion driven. And I love to incorporate them in my work. But this is a very recent thing. So this is also a fabric. So let me go back to the other table. So this is another piece that I did with packaging panels. And this is homemade paper that I painted. I use pan pastel and oil pastel, I believe, anything that I could find in my studio, and acrylic pen and ink pen. And I put some fabric that I found on the street, and the typical now zipper that I love to use. So lastly, just also in the spirit of recycling, one body of work that I did during the pandemic was another homage for the COVID victims, and it's made with these are like iPhone or iWatch or Galaxy, whatever, Samsung phones. Typically, because I'm from Argentina, as I said, over the course of the years, people come and visit us, and they always find or want to buy an iPhone or more. So I inherited all these boxes that I refuse to put in the trash or recycle, actually, because they are so sturdy, so expensive. So that's what I do sometimes too. So having said that, that is pretty much what I wanted to show you, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or explore any more on anything that you saw or you want to know from me.
Thank you, Adriana. Well, we do have some questions from some people in the chat. Let's make sure.
Yes.
I'm just gonna
here
make sure we put you. There we go.
There we are.
So everyone can see you as you're talking.
Yes.
So we have a question from Tanya. Could you explain how you apply the text to the painting? And I think you do this in a couple of different ways, it seems like.
Yeah, I do it. Thank you, Tanya. I do it differently. I mean, it depends. I mean, in the past, when I had a bigger studio, like what I did is like maybe apply it purposely, not by intuition or at the spur of the moment, but really planning. For example, doing it with charcoal or with pencil, and then fix that on the canvas, right? And then apply my acrylic, my oil, or whatever. So sometimes I do that, but sometimes I do that with the pencil and then acrylic, and that's not a real problem. Sometimes I do it with the back of my brush, and I have to say I tend not to use brushes. The thing that I use the least are really brushes. I use anything but brushes, but in any case, I use the back of my brushes to write on. But in the ones that I show you, those were done with the pencil. So okay. I go with pencil. For example, the ones that I did for the Marking Lives COVID-19, that was also done with pencil or with ink pen. But sometimes I write with acrylic pen. That acrylic pen is something that I didn't know existed until not too long ago, and I love them. for writing or for creating dots and things like that. Like I have two personas, like the persona that is very gestural and likes to expand in the canvas and splash and do things like that. And then the other one that is more careful and perfectionist about where I put my dots or my words.
Great. And we have another question from Amy. Can you explain the relationship between the zipper and the meaning of your work? I actually would love to piggyback on that question. I have a question myself. It seems like there's a lot of like this idea of containment in your work, and with the lines, and also like there's almost like a suggestion of like topography a little bit.
Yes.
And I apologize, Amy, if that's not specific to your question, but I think the zipper kind of is also included in that. But you did mention that your mother was a seamstress, correct?
Correct. So it's we don't have in 10 minutes. I cannot tell you all the things that go through my mind, but let me start by saying that I rejected a lot of the work that I saw my mother doing. She was always sitting, doing, sewing. I didn't even want to bother learning how to sew with the machine, and she had the old machine that with the pedal. And it was so cumbersome, and we were always having threads everywhere in our clothes. So it was like, it wasn't something that I was fun. I mean, and really, I mean, I ended up being a scientist, like a completely different thing. But with the pass of time, and especially after she passed away, and when I revisited, my house and all the materials, right? I have this love for zippers. And you could think it has a meaning. It's like opening or closing. It's like it relates to the text. I write, but I also cover the text. So there is a part of me that is very much transparent, but there is secrecy too in my behavior. So I think that all this is embedded in that, and I haven't been able to really, understand it much from a rational place, but I think it has to do with all these experiences from infancy. But I do love, from a practical point of view, I do love the element of the zipper as an element of surprise. Like, for example, I have a painting that I had at the Broken Nature last year, CAA exhibit that has, I purposely, because the canvas was broken, so what better way for me to fix it than the zipper. And I have added zippers at the corners of the canvases as an element of also surprise. But again, I mean, maybe there is something more I don't know, philosophical but psychological that is out there that we haven't figured.
Thank you. All right, and we have another question from Paul that a little bit about your conceptual process. How developed are your concepts before you begin painting, or is it more kind of like a spontaneous response to something, or?
During the course of, thank you for the question. During the course of thinking about my process, I have, revisited or realized that my process is a bit sometimes no process. Like, there are times in which I don't do. I mean, there are people that are more consistent, but I don't think that I'm per se like a person that is always doing exactly the same. Sometimes I just want to paint because of, and I just go and paint and put colors, right? But in general, I have things in my mind. I have either the climate and that is climate crisis, and that's very important. So I'm brewing on that, and I'm brewing or like thinking, how man is always thinking about ourselves and with the pandemic. So there are all these thoughts that come up, and I'm really brewing when I'm painting. So sometimes I add those thoughts or words, especially if they are like, like a motto that I'm thinking, right? I add them in the paintings and I cover them or not. But for example, I have a painting that is like, I came up with all the words that have to do with climate change or climate crisis, you know, all the keywords. So I put them all in the painting, kind of like a poster style of, okay, all the things that we should be doing. And you know, and then maybe I cover them and nobody can see them, or maybe only me because my handwriting is not very clear. But that's really, I mean, again, it is the process is more thinking about, you know, is ruminating about that emotion. So very rarely I don't have anything in my mind when I paint, and I try to be at least honest that, you know, I'm doing things that sometimes doing paintings that have nothing to do with the climate, and I'm trying to force that, right? So I don't know if that answers, but that's the way I think.
Great. I love this question from Amelia. What's the best advice you've received in regards to a career in the arts?
Oh, best advice. Well, the best advice that I have received is the best advice that I always give. Is like, be true to yourself and not try to force a narrative or force a narrative for yourself or for your art. Like, be truthful to whatever, you know, you want to do. Like, I mean, for me, and again, I mean, I chose a path of all the possible paths. I chose a path of working, like my daughter says the other day when we went to buy something. Somebody asked me, like, what are you doing now? I say, oh, I'm a painter. So I'm like, I'm going to paint, whatever. My daughter says, yeah, you used to work like crazy. I'm like, well, I'm still working like crazy. But anyway, but I chose the path of working, you know, I'm not making a living off art. So for me, it's very difficult sometimes when people ask me, okay, what should I do? It's like, okay, get a job that pays more or less well, and do your art on the side and do whatever you want instead of maybe selling yourself to whatever sells. But still, regardless of the path that a person has the privilege or the lack or no lack of following or having, I think it's important to be your own, you know, you dictate your own art, not anybody else. If you're authentic, I believe that you could sell the authenticity, if you will, and people are going to get engaged on that and all that. But that's probably it. Be truthful.
That's great advice for anyone.
Thank you.
All right, and I guess we'll have one more question. I know people were just asking about how you sell your work and future exhibitions this year coming up. We'd love to hear more and give you an opportunity to pitch your upcoming exhibitions so everyone can see your work.
Thank you. So I'll start by saying that I sell whenever. It's like, you know, I don't have an Etsy, or I mean, I'm very active in my Instagram account, and sometimes I put things on sale. I have a lot of work in paper, in portfolios that I don't even, I mean, they are over there in my stairs without blocking. But I do sometimes I'm active. I'm also active in my website because I'm blogging. So every 2 to 3 weeks I blog, and sometimes I tackle on different things that I'm doing, either exhibits or things of the sort. But I'm a member of the SOA Artists Guild, and I have a shared studio space with, for example, I believe Shelby is here, is one of my studio mates, and we sell over there. And this is in 213 at the 450 Harrison Avenue building. You can always come to my place, to my house, home-based studio, and see if there is something that you like, of course. And current exhibits, I have one piece in the Art Hills, which is an amazing and inspiring, powerful online virtual exhibit of the Belmont Gallery of Art. And yesterday I kick off it was the kickoff of a London opportunity. This is like very rare. It's the first time that I'm exhibiting in what it used to be Europe. It's not Europe now, but anyway, but UK. And so I have a painting there that was I was approached by SKT Spaces is doing they are very much into sustainable practices for artists or for people in general, and and they're doing this event, this exhibit with work from UK. So these entities have you know, the same sustainable, I guess, priorities, and I was invited to exhibit, so I'm very, very happy I am there, and I hope to be in the small show, the summer show of the CAA. And I don't know, and I applied to a couple of things that who knows, but those are kind of the things. Every first Friday, we are at the first Friday of the month, we are at the SOA studio. So that's always a good place to go.
Great. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was wonderful. And great to see, great to hear a little bit about your process and see your space that you're working in. Erin, did you want to add anything?
I was just going to hop on and say, so I put this in the chat, but if you would like to check out Adriana's website, her blog is on there as well. Follow her on Instagram or on Facebook. Those links are right there. We can also follow up with all of you folks with the links in an email. And because this is part of our week of fundraising, I wanted to share with you that we are 30% of the way to our fundraising goal for the week. And if you're able to make a donation, we appreciate donations in any amount. I'll ask Candace to drop the donation link into the chat. And throughout the week, so CAA Day is more than just a day, it's a whole week. Throughout the week, we're hosting free events. They're free and open to everyone, no matter where you live, no matter whether you're a member of the Cambridge Art Association or not. Tonight, our weekly figure drawing studio that has been online since the fall because of COVID is free. We do have some spots available still. We have about 25 people signed up already. If you are a member, we have a members meet and greet, again, online. All this is happening online because things have not fully reemerged yet in Cambridge. But tomorrow night we have a member meet and greet. If you'd like to sign up for that, just let us know. We'll be back here on Friday for a virtual studio visit with Mary Louie. She is based in Quincy and also approaches sustainability in her practice. In the afternoon on Friday, we have a free mini session with longtime CAA instructor and artist Martha Wakefield. And again, that is free. We only have a couple of spots left for that. And then in the evening, we have a wine tasting that we're presenting with Darwin's. That is free, except you do have to buy the wine from our community partners at Darwin's. And then we're hosting a panel discussion called Curating Change. It will be moderated by David Guerra, who is the director and founder of Area Gallery and also an independent curator. And we'll feature panelists Rixie, who is a public artist and curator of public art with the Central Square Business District. Juan Omar Rodriguez, who is curating an exhibit with the Cambridge Art Association in January of 2022 of Latinx artists, and Lyson Keene, who is the founder and director of Lyson Keene Gallery. So we hope you can join us for all of these events. They're all happening live, with the exception of the virtual studio visits. They're not recorded, so if you don't see them live, you'll unfortunately miss them. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I want to thank Adriana for welcoming us into her studio. I encourage you to visit her during First Fridays. I haven't visited your SOA studio, so hopefully I'll make it over there sometime soon as well. And thank you to Candace for moderating the chat. And we hope to see you all at another event this week. We hope you enjoy the beautiful weather. So thanks for